You do not hunt submarines with small ships. That was the rule. Everyone knew it. Everyone believed it. If you wanted to defeat German U-boats, you needed fleet carriers, heavy destroyers, and overwhelming firepower. Big decks, fast planes, massive task forces. Anything else was a joke. German U-boat commanders certainly believed this rule. They had spent years tearing apart Allied shipping with wolfpacks of steel predators, sinking freighters faster than Britain could replace them. They hunted at night. They hunted submerged. And when they surfaced, they were faster than most of what hunted them. Then the Allies introduced something new. Escort carriers. Short decks. Slow speed. Thin armor. Barely large enough to land a plane without clipping the ocean. To the Germans, these ships were laughable. Floating coffins. Targets, not threats. A U-boat commander did not fear an escort carrier. He mocked it. He logged it. He planned to sink it. And for a while the rule held. Then in 1943 the Atlantic began to change. Not because of one massive fleet. Not because of a superweapon. But because of small ships, relentless men, and a commander who refused to play by the old rules. And that commander was Daniel Vincent Gallery. You are Daniel Gallery in early 1943. You are 41 years old. A career naval officer. Sharp-tongued. Aggressive. And deeply frustrated. You have watched the Atlantic bleed. In 1942 alone, German U-boats sank more than 1,600 Allied ships, over 8 million tons of cargo. Entire convoys vanished. Crews burned or froze within sight of land. And the enemy seems untouchable. Gallery understands something many senior officers still resist. This is not a surface war. It is a hunter's war. And hunters must stay with their prey. You now command USS Guadalcanal, an escort carrier barely 512 feet long, crawling along at 19 knots on a good day. You carry fewer than 30 aircraft, mostly Wildcats and Avengers. You are not built to fight battleships. You are built to escort convoys. But Gallery sees something else. He sees endurance. While fleet carriers strike and withdraw, escort carriers linger. They hover. They wait. They box submarines in and refuse to let them escape. And that matters because in 1943 the stakes could not be higher. If the U-boats win, Britain starves. If Britain falls, the war in Europe collapses. There is no D-Day. No liberation. No second chance. Gallery believes escort carriers can do more than escort. They can hunt. The problem is simple. No one has proven it yet. And German U-boat commanders are about to find out what happens when a weapon they mocked refuses to leave. The Atlantic is gray and restless. You are on the bridge of Guadalcanal in March 1944, commanding Task Group 22.3, an escort carrier and 5 destroyer escorts. Your mission is not convoy protection. It is hunter-killer warfare. That alone terrifies the enemy. German doctrine depends on slipping through gaps, diving deep, waiting out attacks. But your task group does not leave. It circles. It pounces. It waits. On June 4, 1944, sonar contact. A hard return. Distance, 1,200 yards. Depth, 150 feet. Course steady. You order the attack. Depth charges roll. Explosions thump through the water. The ocean churns. Oil slicks rise. Air bubbles boil to the surface. But the submarine does not break. Instead it dives deeper. 600 feet. 700 feet. This is supposed to work. Pressure crushes hulls. Crews panic. Submarines surface or die. But this one holds. Hours pass. The destroyer escorts maintain contact. Aircraft orbit overhead, engines droning like insects. The U-boat cannot surface. It cannot escape. Its batteries drain. Air turns foul. Inside U-505 the crew sweats in darkness. Carbon dioxide thickens. Condensation drips from steel walls. Men breathe shallowly to conserve oxygen. Then disaster. A depth charge ruptures a valve. Seawater floods in. Electrical systems fail. The boat loses control. You see it on sonar first. The contact rises. 300 feet. 200. Then the impossible happens. The U-boat breaks the surface. You do not order it sunk. You order it captured. This is madness. No one captures a U-boat at sea. But Gallery has planned for this moment. Boarding teams race across the waves. Gunfire cracks. Smoke billows from the submarine's conning tower. German sailors leap overboard, convinced the boat will explode. But it does not. Your men climb aboard U-505, sealing hatches, stopping floods, defusing scuttling charges with seconds to spare. Inside are intact Enigma machines. Codebooks. Charts. Intelligence worth millions of lives. For the first time in the war, an enemy warship is captured on the high seas. And no one is allowed to know. The crew is imprisoned in total secrecy. Families are told nothing. The Germans are left guessing. But this is only part of the story. Because long before this capture, escort carriers had already turned the tide. Between May and August 1943, Allied forces sink more than 40 U-boats in the Atlantic. Losses skyrocket. Crews vanish. Patrols shorten. Commanders hesitate. German Admiral Karl Donitz orders withdrawals. He does not yet understand why. He will. Mid-roll seat. If you find this kind of forgotten history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of courage, sacrifice, and tactical genius deserve to be told. And by subscribing, you help us ensure they aren't forgotten. What the Germans do not know is that the ocean itself has changed. Escort carriers now operate in constant hunter-killer groups. Radar, sonar, HF/DF direction finding, and air patrols overlap without gaps. There is no darkness anymore. No safe depth. No escape window. U-boat commanders report a new terror, aircraft appearing hours after detection, refusing to leave, forcing boats to remain submerged until batteries die. Losses become unsustainable. In May 1943 alone, Germany loses 41 U-boats, nearly one every day. Donitz admits defeat. The wolfpacks withdraw from the North Atlantic. Shipping losses plummet. Allied tonnage deliver triples. And because the Atlantic stays open, something else becomes possible. In June 1944, Allied troops land in Normandy. They arrive fed, armed, supplied. Because escort carriers won a war no one sees. Daniel Gallery survives the war. He continues to serve. He writes. He speaks openly about the men who fought in anonymity while the world focused elsewhere. The sailors of Guadalcanal return home quietly. No parades. No headlines. For decades, their greatest victory remains classified. Many never speak of it. Today, only a handful remain. And yet every ship that crossed the Atlantic safely carries their fingerprint. This story matters now because it reminds you of something essential. Wars are not always won by the biggest weapons. Sometimes they are won by the ones the enemy laughed at. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Daniel V. Gallery and the thousands of escort carrier sailors who turned the Atlantic do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.